Good afternoon, and welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Disciples and Devotees. Today we have a special edition with Kittu on the school
and some other aspects.
and some other aspects. Wonderful. Welcome, Kittu.
So, today I'll first speak about that letter which I have given to you already. I've spoken about regarding Pakistan. So, here I brought mother's letter and I can give it to one of you.
Yes, what I'd like to do is hold it up so we can see it also. Can you zoom?
I'll give you the background of the letter and then I'll tell you what this letter says. I had a discussion with a teacher of the higher course that if you read Sri Aurobindo carefully, all that is written on the world situation, even in 1914 to 1920, if you read with perception, intellectually open, you will be able to forecast many things or foresee many things which are inevitable because the forces are working in that direction. So, in that context, and with special reference to chapter 5 of the Ideal of Human Unity, political unit and real unit, you remember the chapter, no? So, there I said that India is a real unit for the last 5,000 years. Pakistan is a politically manufactured aggregate which inevitably will lose its existence. He argued with me and said that no, such a thing is not possible. Only Sri Aurobindo, who has reached the supramental level, can speak about it. So I was not satisfied, so I wrote to mother with the name and saying that this is what they say, and this is what mother replied. And she says, La disparition du Pakistan est inévitable. Elle aurait pu déjà se produire, mais l'ignorance humaine l'a retardée. Benediction.
Give it in English
The
now.
English is, the disappearance of Pakistan is inevitable. It could have happened earlier, but human ignorance has delayed it. Now, what is human ignorance? Ignorance of the supermind. Then nobody is. So I said that this. He tried to argue by saying that yes, mother has proved that unless you are in the supermind. So I said, mother says ignorance not in that sense. So again, after some time when I got a chance to meet her, I asked her. She said, no, not at all. I mean, ignorance in the normal human term, and here we are referring to politics and its understanding. So, if you want, I can give you a copy. So, Narad.
Thank you.
What is the date, please, of that letter?
9/6/71.
Thank you.
Now,
Did mother always reply to you in French?
every letter that she has written to me was in French. One day, I had a very personal problem where I felt that I could speak to her and be more precise if I spoke English. And I had broken my leg, my ankle. It was in plaster for 3 months, March 29th to June 29th. So after 3 days of my birthday, and she gave me a stool. She was sitting on a chair. She asked me to sit on a stool. I said, no, thank you. I will sit on the ground. So I sat on the ground with one leg stretched, which she allowed, and the other leg folded, and I talked to her. Now, one of the main topics at that time was that mother, when she was taking her classes in the school, in the playground, 51 to 58, every Wednesday, she used to repeatedly refer that after a certain age, according to her 14, but being practical and say 17 or 18, the children should be left to choose their subjects, teachers, and also whether they want to study seriously or not. If somebody wants to be ignorant and stupid, what right have you got to interfere and stop him from being ignorant and stupid? It is they who have to take control of their life, and if they want to be stupid, it is their business. They will realize the consequences of their not working, etc., not learning, right? And then might be, as a result of the shock, when you make a fool of yourself, you might decide to study, and then you will try to make up in 2 or 3 years what you have not done in 10 years. So she says, this is my full responsibility, my approach, that we have no right after a certain age. Practically 14 is a bit too early for most human beings, but 18, 19, once they enter what we call the higher course, they should have the delight of being ignorant. This was a clear approach. And in the human cycle, in chapter 4, he clearly speaks about education. And in that chapter, he says very clearly that the child should be allowed to develop his own psychic being. He should be encouraged so that will lead him to what is the importance of knowledge and higher knowledge, and then ultimately to the spiritual knowledge. She has been repeatedly telling this. And a few French teachers, one of them was Tanmay, and another was his friend Padma, a lady who was there.
I know
right?
Padma, yes.
They read that chapter with Pavitrada and said, then what are we doing? Shrivinda writes something, mother is saying one thing, and we are doing exactly like the old thing. No difference at all. Then in 1958, on December 7th, mother stopped coming to the playground. Apparently she had some problem with her teeth, so she stopped coming to the playground. From 58 to 62, she used to come to the playground 4 times a year on darshan days, and she used to give balcony darshan. Balcony darshan on the first floor. What is it? Rue Saint-Gilles, I think it's called. Opposite the accounts office. She used to come and give there. 62, she withdrew completely upstairs to the terrace, and she used to give terrace darshan, facing towards the east. She used to face the east. So these Frenchmen, Tanmay, Padma, supported by a few other French people, made a bold attempt that we will try to give complete freedom to the children to study by themselves. And as mother had said, 14, they stuck to that age of 14. We, the old timers, all of us resisted quite fiercely. We didn't approve of it. And in a sense, I would say quite rightly. Because their argument was that each individual is a soul. A child, each individual is a soul and is therefore unique. So far, perfect. Therefore, logical conclusion, group classes are meaningless. What you have to tell one child, you need not be to another child. And they applied it freely. So there were two sections in the school. One was a section which was following the free progress, and the other section was in the normal way, fixed periods, fixed teachers, everything fixed. As long as mother used to come to the playground, she had direct contact with the children and teachers. That mitigated a lot of that rigidity that was there in the school. But in 58 she withdrew. Just before that, Kirit Joshi, an IAS officer who had served in the IAS only for 6 months and came over here. But then the IAS background is there, that way of looking at things. He reorganized the school completely. And the higher course was very loose. He fixed up subjects, and so he fixed up 3 courses or 4 courses in the higher course. One was arts, humanities, one was science, one was common course, and another was optional course. The science students had to do physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology. Had to do all the 4. The humanities had to do history, philosophy, psychology, and 1 or 2 books of Sri Aurobindo. Life Divine compulsory, Human Cycle compulsory. Common course was, whether you are art or science, you all have to do 2 or 3 books of Sri Aurobindo. And the optional course was, you can do as many books of Sri Aurobindo as you want, and you can increase your period, 6 periods of Life Divine, 5 periods of Human Cycle, whatever it is. And he also put down what he called quarterly test. Actually, it was thrice. So the whole school, secondary and above, would sit and organize. The whole thing was organized for 2 weeks. Monday 3 hours French, English, Tuesday 3 hours French, Wednesday 3 hours mathematics, Thursday 3 hours science, and so on and so forth in the afternoon languages. It was exactly like any other school in the world, any other Indian school in the world at least. In many Western schools, they are much more advanced.
So let me ask, there were many people not in favor of what he did?
Not?
In favor of what he did?
Well, yes, we are very doubtful, but we are also very doubtful about what was being done in the name of the free system. And that is what I am going to read out to you. So, I was one of those who made the biggest noise, but I also knew that the mother was totally on the side of the free progress. So it needed a lot of courage. It is almost defying the mother in a way. But then, practically on the ground level, things were pathetic. I read out that letter and mother's reply. So I wrote this letter to Pavitrata, who was the director of our school. For quite a long time, and particularly during the last few months, many of us, teachers of the new classes, have noticed a growing disorder and confusion in the school. We therefore decided to make a report with the hope that a timely intervention by the authorities might change the situation and improve matters. In making this report, we have given our considered opinion and judgment, always keeping in mind the welfare both of the students and the institution. So, three types of disorder: indiscipline, irregularity, and poor work. Indiscipline. This problem, which has always existed to a certain degree, has now assumed rather a serious proportion. It is now quite a common feature to see students enter the class 10 or 15 minutes late and stroll out again a few minutes earlier. Many of them go to the newspaper room, post office, projector room during class hours. Very often they are loitering in the streets or in the playground. It's the first problem, and it was very serious. Irregularity. This is a problem of somewhat different nature. Very few students attend regularly classes. Many of them start with enthusiasm, but after a certain time, particularly when they have to give a test, drop out and rarely come back. Finally, when they restart, they have already forgotten all that they had learnt, and the whole business had to start all over again. Right? So the consequence of all this has been poor work by students. Not only is the amount of work done insufficient, but also the quality is poor. Now this was a free application of the free system from the age of 14. So now I have given figures taking into consideration subject-wise performance of work. 77 out of 116 are below normal in English. 130 out of 142 are below normal in French. 129 out of 162 are below normal in maths. 66 out of 69 below normal in physics, etc., etc. We have all felt, therefore, that something should be done before it is too late. The first and foremost essential step we feel is to have a minimum of fixed periods for each subject. This minimum number can only be decided later on. Some of us feel, however, that all classes should have fixed periods. There was another thing that was introduced, that when you give a textbook to a child, say mathematics, the size of the book, he gets scared. So what they did was they tore the book completely and made it chapter-wise. And one by one they used to give it to each one. Each one working at his own pace. And when you have finished the first, you go to the second. And I knew that I am swimming against the current. So I managed to persuade 11 others to join me and put their signatures. So these signatures are all there. Every one of them is today a very important person in the school, or almost everyone. Arati, Manoj, Paru has gone away, Jhumur, Priti, Norman Dowsett, and finally my signature. Now look at the answer. She says, now, to the professors first. Je dis que je suis satisfaite des chiffres que le rapport indique. En dépit de tout ce qu'on peut penser, la proportion de très bons élèves est satisfaisante. Si sur 150 élèves, il y en a 7 qui sont de personnalités de valeur, c'est très bien. English. I say that I am satisfied with the figures that you have given me. In spite of all that you think, the proportion of very good students is satisfactory. If out of 150, there are 7 persons whose personality has some value, it is very good. So look at the different way of looking at things. Next. L'ensemble des classes peut être réorganisé de façon à répondre aux besoins de la majorité. C'est-à-dire ceux qui, sans pression extérieure, sans discipline imposée, travaillent mal et ne progressent pas. She says the larger number of classes can be reorganized to respond to the needs of the majority, which means those who, without external pressure and imposed discipline, do not work well. But it is essential, I'm reading it in English directly, that the system of education, actual system of education, must be maintained. In order to permit the elite elements to manifest and freely grow. This is our real goal. C'est cela notre vrai but. Il faut que l'on sache. We must know. Il ne faut pas hésiter à le proclamer. You must not hesitate to proclaim that our school is made to discover and encourage ceux en qui le besoin de progrès est devenu conscient pour orienter la vie. Those in whom the consciousness reaches a point that they want to organize and orient their life. This is the purpose of our school. It must be a privilege to be admitted in the free system. So you see, she was very clear. Two sections. One is for those who cannot work without imposed discipline, and the elite, 7 out of 150, who can guide themselves. And she said, this is our business and this is the reason for this school, right? And then she says, very practical, at regular intervals, you must make the faire le tri. That means you must select who is not using their time freely, put them back into the old system, and those who are showing signs of developing their personality, put them outside. 3 months, 4 months, right? So, then, this is the typical mother. The criticism made in the report addresses itself more to the professors than to the students. The whole blame is us. For a student of quality superior, in a professor who is well versed in a subject is enough. At the most, a good book, dictionaries, encyclopedias is enough. But as you come down the level, the qualities that have to be developed is discipline, self-mastery, consecration, comprehension, psychological comprehension, enthusiasm communicatif. You go to a teacher and he, by his enthusiasm for the subject, arouses the enthusiasm in you. It's a very important word, enthusiasm communicative. You see, children are very, very
Open.
alert to that.
Yes.
When they find that the teacher loves Sanskrit, he enjoys teaching Sanskrit, they begin to love Sanskrit. When the teacher starts with grammar and boring and dull, they find it absolutely dull. You see, that is why when Sri Aurobindo started teaching, Nalinida, 18-year-old boy, Suresh Chakravarti, he started teaching them Greek, first French. What was the first book that he took? Not a grammar book, Molière. Straight away, one of the best authors, you see. And then through that, little by little, get their interest involved. And then you come back to grammar when necessary. And essentially, too much grammar is not necessary. You learn grammar as you go along, right? And that is exactly how we have learned in our school. One teacher used to insist too much on grammar, but almost all the others, hardly anything. So this arrangement must be supple enough, and each professor must be allowed to develop his own method. See, now this is very crucial, because each one, you are put into a syllabus, put into a course, put into a way of teaching, which is normally done outside. Totally against that. And then she says, no, I've jumped a little bit. So now she says, and this is in her own handwriting, in French, de même que nous organisons l'école de façon à pouvoir découvrir et d'aider les élèves d'élite, just as we are trying to organize a school in order to discover the elite students, il faudrait que la responsabilité des classes soit donnée à des professeurs d'élite. Exactly in the same way, you must find out the elite professors. Je demande donc à chacun des professeurs, I therefore ask all of the professors to consider their work at school as the best and the most rapid method of doing the yoga. And it must also be understood que chaque difficulté, every difficulty and every difficult student is an occasion to find out a divine solution for the problem. So the whole problem she shifted on us. And I tell you, it is absolutely true. I've been teaching from 1957 December. I was exactly like what she didn't want us to be. But little by little, by learning experience, this enthusiasm communicative. And every time a student fails, shows a lack of interest, take the responsibility on yourself and not on the student. Something is missing. You do not know how to contact the student, which means that every student is a unique personality. And although it might not always be possible to have each one separately, if you find that there is one of a certain type and needs a certain help, you give him an extra period, some extra time, and you will find that each one is unique. Your method of teaching has to be unique, suited for that person, and then gradually a relationship develops, and that relationship is lifelong. Even at the age of 60, they will tell you Kittu or whoever it is, Manoj the wonderful teacher. And then a deeper relationship develops. So this is one aspect which I wanted to bring out. Now if you have any questions,
I have known fine teachers who were totally against the free progress and remained against it. And remained against it.
No, my question is, are they against the free progress or are they against the way it is being applied?
I don't know.
You see, the opposite of free progress is that the administration chooses the students who are grouped, chooses the teacher who will teach them, fixes up the syllabus, fixes up the timetable, and they have to follow. This is done in most parts of the world. Now, to that, we were like that till 1958. Then slowly, because of mother, it changed, right? And so the question that you have to ask is whether they are against free progress or the misapplication of free progress.
Thank you, Kit.